What are the probabilities of a Fed rate cut, and what are the similarities between the federal funds rate and unemployment looking back at history? Let's get into it. So this is the federal funds rate, and we are right at 5.33. Okay, this is actually the effective rate. We're technically at 5.25 to 5.5 range. But as you can see, we were down at 0 and we skyrocketed up to 5.33. Okay? So what are the probabilities that we drop from here? Well, let's look at the CME Fed Watch. And this is priced using implied 30-day Fed funds future prices. Okay, so it's priced by the market. And this is the probabilities for the meeting on Wednesday. And there is a 96% chance that we stay where we are. Okay, and there's only a 4% chance that we drop 25 basis points. But let's look at the September meeting. And you can see now that the current rate is not even on here. There's a 0% chance that we stay where we are, and a 90% chance that we cut at least 25 basis points. Okay, now let's look at the end of the year. There's a 56% chance that we drop 75 basis points. Okay, so the market is pricing in 3 Fed cuts of 25 basis points each by the end of the year. Okay, and this is typically pretty accurate. So let's look at similarities between the dropping of the rates and unemployment throughout history. This is the federal funds rate in red, shown in percentage on the left, and then in blue is the unemployment change from a year ago on the right. And as you can see, as the red drops, the blue rises. Okay, so it has an inverse relationship. But you can tell that this happens when the federal funds rate is at different percentages throughout history. So it's really all about the change in the rate of the federal funds rate and the change in the rate of unemployment. So let's look at those changes. This is a percent change in the Fed funds in red and a percent change from a year ago for the unemployment in blue. And this is on a semi-annual basis to get rid of a lot of the noise. And I also cut out the years after the pandemic because it made the chart really hard to read. But as you can see again, it has an inverse relationship. As one goes up, the other goes down. One goes up, the other goes down. And we can really show this if we flip the blue line on top of the red line, shown here, and it almost has a direct similarity between the general direction. Okay, so let's talk about why this has the inverse relationship. Well, let's go back to the main chart. As the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, the red line, it puts a strain on the economy. It puts a strain on people, because when people have to sell their house and get a mortgage for a new one, they have to get that mortgage at a higher rate. So that's just added cost and less disposable income. Now it also puts a huge strain on businesses, because businesses often need to roll over their debt. And when they roll over their debt, they have to do it at a higher rate. So this is a higher cost, and they have to cut costs elsewhere. How do they cut costs elsewhere? They let people go. Okay? And the blue is the unemployment. As the unemployment rises, the Federal Reserve will start to cut the rates, because they can see that businesses are struggling, people are losing their jobs, so they want to cut the rates to alleviate the pain. But they're always behind the curve. So they typically cut too late, so then there's a recession shown in the gray shaded areas. So they'll cut the rates, recession. they'll cut the rates recession. They'll cut the rates recession, cut the rates recession. So if there's a high probability that they're going to cut the rates soon, mainly due to this high unemployment rising, what can you expect? You can expect a recession, just looking back at history. So those are the similarities between the Fed funds rate and unemployment numbers, and those are the probabilities of the Fed rate cut. Until next time, Godspeed.